I posted the divorce agreement into my husband's corporate messaging group of over 300 people. He called, screaming that I was crazy. I looked out the window and calmly told him this was just the beginning. He thought it was about love. In reality, it was about reckoning. When some things break, someone has to pay the price to piece them back together in a different way. Please subscribe to this channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. I pressed send. The file was small, a PDF. The name was long, Marcus and Grace, divorce. The recipients were clear, Starlight, all, 307. The light from my phone screen, in the dim lighting of my studio, was like a small piece of ice. Sent successfully. The green checkmark felt like a cold judgment. I turned off the screen and placed it face down on the workbench, which was covered in black velvet. The world went silent for 3 seconds. 3 seconds later, the phone on the workbench began to vibrate madly. Buzz, 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 like a dying moth caught in a spiderweb. I ignored it. I put on white gloves, picked up a fine bamboo scraper, and began to clean the song Celadone bowl in front of me, which had shattered into a dozen pieces. The edges of the fragments were sharp, like congealed time. My movements were slow and very patient. This was my job, an artifact restorer. I was skilled at piecing broken things back together, bit by bit, even if they were full of cracks inside. The phone was still vibrating. The screen repeatedly lit up on the tabletop, displaying a string of names. Assistant, Ms. Emily, Marcus, Marcus, Marquez. He seemed intent on blowing up my phone. I finally picked up the phone, swiped to answer. It wasn't his call, it was assistant, his boss's assistant. Grace, what are you doing? Marcus's phone isn't going through. Do you have any idea how much this is impacting the company? His voice was full of cautious alarm. I said, yes, I do. Then, David, please tell Mr. William that this is my private matter, and Marcus's as well. But this, if he can bring his private affairs into the company, so can I. I hung up. Immediately after, Marcus's call came through. I answered. Grace, are you absolutely insane? His roar almost pierced my eardrums. I held the phone a little further away and gently blew off the dust from the porcelain shards with an air puffer. I am perfectly lucid, Marcus. My voice was so calm it felt unfamiliar even to me. Lucid? You've completely ruined our reputation. How am I supposed to show my face at work now? Your reputation? I let out a soft laugh, as if I'd heard some absurd joke. When you used company funds to rent that apartment next to the office for Ivy, did you think about your reputation then? On the other end of the line, there was instant dead silence. I could imagine his expression at that moment, shock, bewilderment, then panic. How did you know? His voice was trembling. I picked up the smallest fragment with tweezers and held it to the light, observing its glaze, thin as a cicada's wing. Marcus, we've been married for 5 years. Did you really think I'd just sit quietly, like the porcelain in this room? You underestimated me. And you overestimated yourself. I hung up and blocked his number. The phone finally fell completely silent. I looked at the pile of fragments. The first step in restoring an artifact is inventory. Inventory all the pieces, assess all the damage. Settling scores in a marriage is no different. The next day, Marcus didn't come home. I guessed he was too ashamed to go back to the office either. Starlight is a top-tier investment firm that values its employees' image and stability above all else. An investment director who couldn't even manage his own household, and was even publicly executed by his wife in this manner, was essentially a ticking time bomb in the eyes of his boss and clients. I was the one who personally detonated that bomb. In the afternoon, I received a call from an unknown number. Is this Ms. Grace? A woman's voice, with a deliberately suppressed tremor. It is. This is Ivy. Oh, she finally called. Marcus's phone isn't reachable. Is he with you? I could almost imagine her face, always meticulously made up, now filled with panic. What do you think? I countered. Ms. Grace, I'm sorry, I was in the wrong here. But what you're doing will ruin him. Her voice became tearful, sounding pitiful. Him? I put down my tools and walked to the window. My studio was on the top floor of an old brownstone building, from which I could see the intertwined shadows of plane trees below. He's being ruined, not because of what I've done, but because of what he's done. Ms. Ivy, you're a top graduate from a prestigious university. This logic shouldn't be hard to grasp, should it? On the other end of the line, there were suppressed sobs. I'm begging you, tell me what you want, just please stop this, okay? Mr. William has already spoken to him and put him on suspension. My demands? I laughed. My demands are in the divorce agreement. Everyone in your company has a copy now. You can borrow one from a colleague to read. With that, I hung up. In the evening, Marcus returned. He looked haggard and irritable, like a trapped beast. As soon as he entered, he violently slammed his briefcase down in the foyer. Grace, are you satisfied? I was watering a dying orchid and didn't look up. This is just the beginning. He rushed over, snatched the watering can from my hand, and smashed it on the floor. Water and dirt splattered all over me. What do you want from me? Are you only happy once my reputation is completely destroyed? I looked up and stared at him calmly. He was wearing an expensive custom suit, but his tie was crooked, his hair was disheveled, and his eyes were bloodshot. The man who once exuded youthful vigor was now utterly disheveled. I don't want anything specific, I said. I just want to reclaim what belongs to me. I've had my lawyer calculate the assets. Post-marital assets, 50-50, it's fair, he said, gritting his teeth, as if granting a favor. No. I shook my head and walked to my workbench. I had already pieced together half of the song Celadon Bowl. The cracks were like a spiderweb, ugly and shocking. What I want isn't just half. I picked up a fragment and gently ran my fingertip along its edge. What I want is for you to pay back double. You cheated for a year and 7 months, using our marital assets to support your mistress. Marcus, guess how a judge would rule if those transfer records were presented? His face instantly turned ashen. Marcus left. Or rather, he fled in disarray. He clearly hadn't anticipated that I knew so many details. He always thought I was a naive bookworm, a boring wife who only dealt with pottery. He was wrong. Restoring artifacts requires an extreme exploration of details above all else. To me, every tiny clue was the entire truth. Over the next few days, he began his act. He tearfully complained to our mutual friends, claiming I was emotionally unstable, unreasonable, and suffering from delusions due to work stress. He even implied that I was having an affair and was using this aggressive method to force a divorce. He tried to portray me as a crazy, untrustworthy woman. Then, I received a call from Martha. As soon as I answered, a torrent of abuse rained down on me. Grace, you vicious woman. What sin did our Jiang family commit to marry you? You can't even bear children yourself, and you won't allow Marcus to seek someone outside. You've ruined his job, what's your intention? I remained silent, listening quietly. The vulgar words rained down like hailstones. They hit my heart, yet stirred no ripples. There is no greater sorrow than a dead heart. That was likely the feeling. Only when she tired of yelling, breathing heavily, did I softly speak. Mother, are you finished? There was a moment of silence on the other end. Now that you're finished, it's my turn. First, the inability to have children isn't my issue, it's your son's. I have a copy of his physical exam report from 3 years ago. Would you like me to send it to you? Second, he wasn't seeking someone outside, he was misappropriating company assets to support a mistress. That crime is called embezzlement. Third, I didn't ruin his job, he did it himself. Instead of yelling at me, you might want to show more concern for him and ask if Starlight plans to prosecute him. The phone was abruptly hung up. The world returned to quiet. I scheduled an appointment with a lawyer. A friend recommended him. He was supposedly one of the best in the business for divorce and property disputes. The law firm was large, located in the most expensive office building in the CBD. The lawyer was Julian. He was young, dressed in a well-tailored gray suit, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, appearing both refined and dangerous. Like an elegant cheetah. He reviewed all the materials I brought, including the widely publicized divorce agreement. He didn't look at me, his fingertips gently tapping on the table. Ms. Grace, your demands are for a larger share of assets and to ruin his reputation. Yes. He raised his eyes, his gaze behind the lenses sharp as a surgical scalpel. Revenge is a dish best served cold. But you seem intent on serving it as a sizzling hot dish. Aren't you afraid of getting burned yourself? I met his gaze. Julian. Since I dared to light this fire, I'm not afraid of getting burned. I just need someone to help me fan the flames higher. He smiled, the corner of his mouth curving into an amused arc. Interesting. I'll take this case. Marcus's retaliation came faster and more viciously than I expected. Monday morning, I went grocery shopping, and when I went to pay, my card wouldn't go through. Insufficient funds. The cashier looked at me with a strange expression. I tried an other card. This card has been frozen. I stood still, and the people queuing behind me began to whisper. The embarrassment and humiliation of that moment felt like a bucket of ice water poured over me from head to toe. I put away my wallet, apologized to the cashier, left the items in my cart, and turned to leave. My phone vibrated with a bank text message. All the joint accounts under our names had been unilaterally frozen by him. He was attempting a financial strangulation. He knew my studio's income was unstable, and that restoring an artifact took a long time. He thought that by cutting off my financial source, I would have to give in. I sat on a roadside bench, watching the traffic flow by. What welled up inside me was not despair, but a cold fury. Good. He had personally severed the last shred of goodwill between us. I opened my phone and called Julian. Julian, he's frozen all my cards. As expected, Julian's voice was calm. This is the most direct tactic he can use. I need money, I said. I need to file a lawsuit immediately and apply for asset preservation. We can do that, but it will take time. Court processes aren't that fast. I can't wait. My studio still had a hefty rent payment due. I couldn't let my life's work be ruined like this. Ms. Grace, Julian's voice paused. Do you have any other assets? For example, something not in his name, something he doesn't even know about. I fell silent. Yes. One item. It was left to me by Eleanor when she passed away. A Yuan Longquan Celadon Ewer. Its market value was enough for me to win this lawsuit and open 10 more studios. But it was Eleanor's memento, my most cherished possession. I had never thought of selling it. I understand. Julian seemed to guess my hesitation. Ms. Grace, sometimes, to repair what's most important, you have to sacrifice something secondary. You have to break a few eggs to make an omelet. I hung up and sat on the bench for a long time. The setting sun stretched my shad. How long? Back home, I opened the innermost safe in my studio. The Celadon Ewer lay quietly on a silk cushion. Its glaze was warm and smooth like jade, as if it had slept for centuries. I gently caressed it. Eleanor, I'm sorry. Some debts must be collected. I would trade this Ewer for his irrevocable downfall. It was a worthwhile trade. Marcus thought he had won. After cutting off my financial source, I behaved for a few days. He probably thought I was cornered and would soon come begging. He sent me a text message. Friday evening at 7, come to your studio to talk. Don't try anything clever. The tone was condescending, filled with the arrogance of a man in control. I replied with one word. Okay. I made preparations in advance. I sold the Longquan Celadon Ewer to a collector I knew. The money arrived quickly. I transferred a portion to Julian as a legal fee. The other portion, I kept as backup. At 7 in the evening, Marcus appeared promptly. He had changed into casual clothes, his hair was meticulously styled, he seemed to have regained his usual composure. He walked into my studio as if inspecting his territory. He glanced at the broken porcelain pieces, a hint of disdain on his lips. Grace, had your fun yet? He pulled out a chair and sat down with a swagger. Now that you've had your fun, it's time to talk business. I didn't speak, just mixed the adhesive for restoration. The air was thick with the mixed scent of chemical reagents and old wood. You can have the divorce, he said, as if it were a generous concession. The house goes to you, and you get 30% of the savings. Publicly, we'll announce it as an amicable separation due to irreconcilable differences. As for that agreement, you'll find a way to clarify it, say you sent it in a moment of emotional distress. That way, it's good for both of us. He looked at me, a hint of impatience in his eyes. Grace, this is the most I can compromise. Don't push your luck. I finally stop. Do what I was doing and looked up. Marcus, do you think you're in control of everything? He frowned. What do you mean? I smiled, then took out a small voice recorder from under the workbench and placed it in front of him. I pressed play. What played from the voice recorder wasn't a conversation between him and me. Instead, it was a phone recording. It was Marcus's voice, tinged with a slight drunkenness and boastfulness. That woman? Easy to fool. Just put her in her place, and she'll behave. Money? Don't worry, I handled it cleanly. I registered a consulting company and routed the funds as project expenses. On paper, it's all normal business spending. No one will ever trace it. The money for Ivy's apartment went through there. Without a trace. This was a call he made to a friend last month while on a business trip to Singapore. He thought he was out of sight, out of mind. He didn't know I had suspected him for a long time and had installed an inconspicuous monitoring software on his phone. Marcus's face, in that instant, transformed from arrogant red to terrified white, and finally, to ashen gray. He froze as if struck by lightning. Sweat beaded and rolled down his temples. You. He pointed at me, his finger trembling like a leaf in an autumn breeze. I stood up, looking down at him. Marcus. I enunciated his name syllable by syllable. Now, how do you think we should talk? Should we discuss divorce? Or should we discuss embezzlement and corporate fraud? Marcus's defenses completely crumbled before that small voice recorder. All the color drained from his face. That wasn't divorce, that was a crime. If that recording were handed over, he wouldn't just lose his job, he would go to prison. What? What do you want? His voice was hoarse and dry, as if sanded down. My demands are simple. I pushed a new document across the table to him. It wasn't a divorce agreement. It was an asset transfer agreement. The house, the cars, all the stocks and fun. DS under our names, all to be transferred to my name. Additionally, I want $5 million in cash compensation from your personal account. As compensation for the emotional and physical harm you've inflicted upon me. Marcus's eyes suddenly widened, as if they would pop out of their sockets. You're insane. This is robbery. Compared to your embezzlement, I said calmly, mine is, at most, a reasonable risk premium. I'm giving you 3 days to consider. After 3 days, if the money and paperwork aren't received, this recording will land on the desks of the Starlight Board and the financial unit. I watched him leave, distraught, his retreating figure like a whipped dog. I sent a message to Julian. He's broken. Julian replied quickly. As expected. You struck a vital artery. A moment later, he sent another. Well done, Ms. Grace. You're a born hunter. Looking at that text message, for the first time a genuine smile touched my lips. A hunter? Perhaps. Prey pushed to the brink can also become the fiercest hunters. For the next 2 days, Marcus made no moves. I guessed he was either scrambling for a solution or making a desperate struggle. I was very patient. In my studio, I worked day and night to restore the Celadon bowl. Piece by piece, the fragments were reattached, the cracks filled, polished, and reglazed. It was slowly returning to its original state. Just like my life. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, what I awaited wasn't Marcus's compromise, but an unwelcome visitor. Ivy. She wore no makeup, her face was pale, her eyes red and swollen, and she stood in a crumpled trench coat, blocking the entrance to my studio. She stopped me, her voice filled with desperate sobs. Ms. Grace, I beg you, let Marcus go. He can't go to prison. If he goes to prison, I'm ruined too. I looked at her coldly. That's your problem, it has nothing to do with me. How can it have nothing to do with you? She grabbed my arm excitedly. Do you even realize what you're doing? Do you think that consulting company was just for renting me an apartment? My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? A flicker of extreme fear crossed Ivy's eyes. She lowered her voice, almost whispering. That company. It belongs to Mr. William. They use it for money laundering. Marcus is just a scapegoat. You've blown this thing up, they won't let you off. You're playing with fire. My mind buzzed. Mr. William. Marquez's boss. The director of Starlight. The complexity of the situation instantly exceeded my expectations. This was no longer a simple marital revenge. It felt as if I had stepped into a vast, dark whirlpool. Ivy's words were like a boulder thrown into a deep pool. The ripples it created carried a deadly chill. I immediately contacted Julian. We met in his office. I told him Ivy's words, exactly as she had said them. Julian's expression was more serious than I had ever seen it. He took off his gold-rimmed glasses and rubbed his temples with his knuckles. Things just got complicated, he said. If he's telling the truth, then Marcus isn't the main culprit, he's just a pawn. The real big fish is his boss, William. Do you know William's standing in the financial world? I shook my head. Well connected, Julian stated concisely. If he wants the recording in your hand to become worthless, or for you to disappear from this world, he has countless ways to make it happen. A shiver ran down my spine. So what should I do now? Give up. Julian looked at me, his gaze profound. Ms. Grace, this isn't a game you can play. Take whatever Marcus can give you, get divorced quickly, and leave here. That's the safest option. Give up? I looked out at the tall buildings outside, like cold steel jungles. I had already come this far. I had already sold that most precious Longquan Celadon ewer. Now, he wanted me to give up? Go back to square one, pretend nothing happened? Why should I? No. I said, my voice low but resolute. I won't give up. Julian, if it were you, would you give up? Julian fell silent. He put his glasses back on, the lenses reflecting a cold light. I wouldn't. He finally said. Because the greater the risk, the greater the reward. Ms. Grace, are you sure you want to take this gamble? If you lose, it could mean eternal damnation. I'll gamble. I looked at him. But I need your help. Julian's lips slowly curved into an arc. It was an excited, predatory smile. Good. If we're going to play, let's play big. We're not just going to make Marcus pay, we're also going to Drag that big fish down with him. Our plan began. Julian used his connections to secretly investigate the financial flow of that so-called consulting company. As for me, I needed to do something even more dangerous. I needed to obtain more direct evidence. Evidence that could directly implicate Mr. William and this company. And the evidence could only be in one place. Marcus's computer. His laptop, which he never let out of his sight, even taking it into the bathroom. I needed an opportunity, a chance to access his computer. The opportunity quickly presented itself. Marcus proactively asked to meet me. The location was a private booth at a coffee shop. He looked even more haggard and sullen than last time. Grace, the terms you proposed are impossible for me to accept, he said. But I can offer you more money. 3 million. That's my bottom line. Take the money, delete the recording, and let's part ways amicably. I shook my head. Not enough. He slammed his hand on the table, spilling coffee. Don't push your luck. Marcus, I said, looking him in the eyes, enunciating each word, do you think your freedom is only worth 3 million? He glared at me, as if trying to kill me with his eyes. Just then, his phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, his expression subtly changing. It was Mr. William. He hesitated, then got up and went outside the booth to answer the call. This was my chance. His briefcase was right air on the seat, and his laptop was inside. My heart was pounding. Adrenaline surged, making my fingertips tingle. I only had tens of seconds. I quickly opened his briefcase and pulled out the black laptop. Power on. It required a password. My brain raced. What would his password be? Birthday? Anniversary? No, too easy to guess. He was an extremely arrogant man. His password must be related to himself, to his pride. I tried a few of his past stock codes. Incorrect. I tried his university student ID. Incorrect. Outside, Marcus's call was still ongoing, but it could end at any moment. My palms were sweating. Calm down, Grace, calm down. When restoring artifacts, the biggest taboo is impetuosity. The more complex the structure, the more calmly one needs to proceed. Password. Password. Suddenly, something flashed in my mind. Ivy. Her name. Suman. No, too simple. Then. Her birthday? I didn't know it. Wait. I remembered one time, when Marcus was drunk, he had inadvertently mentioned that he felt Ivy was like ivy, intertwining around him, making him unable to resist. Ivy. I took a deep breath and typed on the keyboard. Ivy, after that, her birthday. I didn't know her birthday, but I knew a date. A year ago, Marcus took Ivy to Bali under the guise of a company team building trip. And that day was July 15th. I typed, Ivy 0715. Pressed. The screen lit up, displaying the desktop. I was right. I immediately took out a copy device disguised as a USB drive from my pocket and plugged it into the USB port. Julian had given it to me. It could copy an entire hard drive's data without a trace, in a short amount of time. A blue indicator light began to flash rapidly. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Time seemed to stretch infinitely. My ears were keenly tuned to the movements outside the door. Marcus's voice stopped. Footsteps were approaching. The copy device's indicator light was still flashing. Faster, faster. Just as the booth door was pushed open, the indicator light finale. Y turned green. Copy complete. I unplugged the USB drive, quickly closed the laptop, and returned it to the briefcase. The entire process took less than 30 seconds. Marcus walked in, looking at me with a sullen expression. My boss asked me to tell you. His voice was cold. Don't burn your bridges. I looked at him, my heart perfectly calm. And please tell him. It's not too late to stop now. He probably thought I was bluffing and let out a cold laugh. Grace, it seems you still don't understand the situation. I'm giving you one last chance. Give me your answer before tomorrow noon. Otherwise, you'll face the consequences. I didn't answer. I picked up my bag and stood up. Tomorrow noon, you'll get your answer. Not from me, but from the world, to both of you. Back home, I immediately handed the data from the USB drive to Julian. He and his technical team analyzed it overnight. The next morning, I received a call from Julian. His voice carried a hint of barely concealed excitement. Ms. Grace, we hit the jackpot, he said. Marcus's computer had a hidden, encrypted folder. Inside were all of Starlight's accounts that had been processed through that consulting company for the past 3 years. Every transaction, clear as day. Time, amount, recipient, purpose. Even records of gifts given to officials. This isn't a bomb. This is a nuclear weapon. I held the phone, my palm slick with sweat. Does know about this folder? I don't think he does, Julian said. This must have been a contingency left by Mr. William. He let Marcus be the scapegoat, but he also kept the real ledger on Marcus's computer, probably to use it to leverage Marcus if necessary. Indeed, quite a show. Yes. There's always a bigger fish. They all thought they were the bigger fish, but they didn't know there was a hunter with a slingshot. Julian, what's the next step? Should we call the police? No, Julian rejected my idea. Directly calling the police would create too much commotion, risk tipping off the enemy, and easily be suppressed by their connections. We need to change our approach. An approach that leaves them unable to resist or call for help. 12 noon. Marquez's ultimatum deadline. He didn't wait for my call. What he waited for was a public statement from Starlight's biggest competitor, Revelation. Revelation released a detailed investigative report through official media channels. The report directly accused Starlight of serious financial fraud and commercial bribery. Attached to the report were dozens of pages of evidence. Every page came from that encrypted folder, high definition, and censored. At the same time, an anonymous tip-off was submitted to both the SEC and the DOJ. Ignition only took an instant. The entire financial sector was rocked. Starlight's stock price, after opening, plummeted to its daily limit in a cliff-like freefall. Countless phone lines were jammed. Countless investors fell into a panic. A perfect, precise, surgical strike. Julian orchestrated it all. He chose to leak the materials to competitors, letting them trigger the explosion. This way, it became a matter of business competition. When elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. Even with immense power, William and his protectors couldn't suppress this matter under public scrutiny. I sat in my studio, looking out the window. The sunlight was perfect. The Dynasty Celadon bowl was now fully restored. Under the sun, it gleamed with a warm luster. The cracks, I had meticulously traced using gold lacquer repair. Broken, it had achieved another kind of breathtaking beauty. My phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. It was Marcus. His voice was no longer angry, nor fearful, but a dead, desperate calm. Grace, you did this, didn't you? Yes, I did. I admitted. On the other end of the line, a long sigh escaped, as if all his strength had been depleted. Then, a soft laugh. Heh. Heh heh heh. I was truly foolish. I always thought I married a docile cat. I never imagined you were a leopard that would bite through my throat. Grace, I lost. I lost. Fair and square. Marcus was taken away. Along with him were William and half of Starlight's senior management. The charges were commercial bribery, money laundering, and embezzlement, with multiple offenses combined. A long period of imprisonment awaited them. Ivy was also fired from the company. I heard she wanted to go back to her hometown, but she was restricted from leaving the country at the airport because she was a key person of interest in the case. A grand feast ultimately left behind nothing but a mess. And I, as the one who first lit the fuse, felt like an outsider. No one knew that the fatal evidence had come from my hand. I got everything I deserved. Even more. Julian handled all the legal procedures for me. The house, the cars, the money in the accounts, not a cent was missing. On the day the final paperwork was completed, Julian invited me to dinner. It was the same Western restaurant in the CBD. Ms. Grace, he raised his glass, congratulations on your new beginning. I took a sip of red wine. I should be thanking you, Julian. I couldn't have done any of this without you. He smiled, his eyes behind the gold-rimmed glasses shining particularly brightly in the light. It's a partnership, a win-win situation. And this has been the most interesting case I've ever handled. He looked at me, his gaze holding an inquisitive edge. Aren't you curious why I went to such extremes? Was it just for the legal fees? I shook my head. I suspect you and William have some old scores to settle. Julian's smile deepened. Clever. 10 years ago, his malicious takeover using similar tactics led to my father's company going bankrupt. I've waited 10 years for this opportunity. So, Ms. Grace, I should also thank you. You put the knife in my hand. So that was it. We were both avengers. The only difference was, he had endured Ed for 10 years, while I had only needed a month. After dinner, Julian drove me home. The car stopped downstairs from my studio. What are your plans now? He asked. Continue repairing my pots and vases, I replied. That's good, he nodded. Peaceful. He handed me a business card. It had only a phone number, no title. If anything comes up, you can call me anytime. Not just for legal advice. There was a subtle, almost imperceptible hint of ambiguity in his tone. I took the card but said nothing. Back in the studio, I casually placed the business card on the workbench. I looked at the song Celadon bowl I had restored. It stood there silently, its golden cracks appearing like streaks of lightning in the light. It was no longer as it once was. Neither was I. My phone vibrated. It was a text message. From an unfamiliar international number. Well done. S.D. SD Julian. I deleted the message, just as I had deleted those unbearable memories from the past. I picked up a new shard. It was a tang white porcelain plate, shattered even more completely. Restoring it might take even longer. But it didn't matter. Now, I had all the patience in the world. And all the time. Outside the window, the city lights were just coming on, glittering brilliantly. But my world was quieter than ever before. I lowered my head and began to work. A new life began, with the restoration of the next broken piece. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it with friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.